Hey everyone, thanks for tuning into the NetSuite Podcast. I'm your host, Kendall Fisher, and today I'm joined by Julian Cork, the Chief Operating Officer of Landbay. Landbay is a UK-based lending company with the niche mission of creating a more accessible buy-to-let mortgage marketplace for investors, borrowers, and brokers, combining market expertise with technological innovation to benefit all parties involved. Landbay creates access to a new type of investment opportunity for the everyday lender, helping investors reap the financial returns offered in the competitive UK buy-to-let mortgage market and supporting responsible borrowers in securing access to faster funding. Landbay has become a leading buy-to-let mortgage lender in the UK in just 4 years. But the company didn't grow into this success without having the right processes, systems, and data in place to do so. Cork says Landbay got to a point of such scale it outgrew previous accounting platforms. Thus, the company began looking for a new cloud-based system that could continue to grow and update as Landbay continues to scale and transform. Find out why Landbay ultimately chose Oracle NetSuite, unlocking a fully customized solution catered to its journey through suite success. That's all coming up next.
You're listening to the NetSuite Podcast, where we discuss what's happening within NetSuite, why we're doing it, and where we're heading in the future. We'll dive into the details about the software and the people at NetSuite who are behind all the moving parts. We'll also feature customer growth stories, discussing the ups and downs of running a company and how one integrated system can help your business continue to scale.
Before we get into this episode with Landbay's Chief Operating Officer, Julian Cork, we want to thank our sponsors over at the Second City. It turns out the phrase corporate entertainment doesn't have to be an oxymoron. Second City Works, the B2B side of the world-famous comedy mecca, the Second City, crafts events that are interactive, educational, and totally hilarious. Whether you're planning a leadership summit, a sales meeting, an association conference, or you just need to show your team a good time, the top-tier comedy pros of the Second City Works brings your information to life and will make your audience laugh till they learn. Visit secondcityworks.com to find out more. Hi, Julian. Thank you so much for being with us on this episode of the NetSuite Podcast, which we are currently recording in London, which is super exciting for me, my first time here.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. So for our listeners who don't know about Landbay, can you provide a breakdown of the company? What do you guys do and what service do you provide?
Okay, so Landbay's a UK buy-to-let mortgage marketplace platform. And by a marketplace platform, I mean we've got customers on two sides of a piece of technology that runs the marketplace. On one side, we have the borrowers. These are people who are borrowing buy-to-let mortgages in the UK. And on the other side, we have the investors. So we offer the capability for both individual retail investors and institutions and SMEs, etc., to all put money onto our platform. Our platform facilitates the movement of interest from those mortgages to the investors. And so we break up mortgages into multiple tiny loan parts and allocate them out so that investors have a diversified investment capability. So we were founded in 2014, completed our first loan in 2015, and now we've grown quite significantly since then. We've lent about £180 million to date, and that's across about 900 mortgages. We've got 7,000 different people investing, be it individuals or institutions. And we're based in London, in Victoria, and have a team of just over 50 people.
Wow. And that's all in, the last 3 years? 4 years now.
Well, 4 years, but if you look in the last year or so, that's when we've seen an exponential growth in volume. So we've had 1,000% growth in terms of everything we've been doing, pretty much across all our metrics.
Wow. Okay, so why was there a business need for a company like Landbay? Clearly, you guys, have seen this exponential growth. So what is the unique business proposition that you're bringing forward?
Well, we've got two different sets of customers that we offer a unique business proposition for. Mm-hmm. And it's really the marketplace model is the unique thing about Landbay. But on the lending side, because we're able to come to the market directly ourselves, we're able to design a new process and systems to originate mortgages. So our origination process with our broker partners is all online via our bespoke platform. It's all paperless, e-signatures across everything. And our underwriting staff have really up the dial in terms of service that can be provided for our broker partners. So the average turnaround in the industry today in the specialist mortgage space, which we operate in, is about 2 weeks. And today, we're doing it in 48 hours. So we're really fundamentally changing that. And we kind of differentiate ourselves on that service and the technology and those capabilities while remaining on market with our pricing and, very, very importantly, our credit quality on that. So that's on one side. So you have the kind of mortgage origination side, and that's the differentiator that we have there. But on the investment side, we're also operating in a very different market. So today, historically, to invest directly into mortgages, it was a heavily intermediated product. You'd have to buy into a fund that would have bought mortgages, that would have bought securities, that would have been investing in mortgages. And so each step of the way, the bond structurers, the banks, the fund managers, etc., all take slices out of the return that you would then subsequently get to invest in those mortgages.
Right.
And so we've really disintermediated the market. You're investing directly through our platform onto a diverse set of mortgages. And we use that simple peer-to-peer construct within our marketplace to directly link the investors to those mortgages and get the interest from those loans directly. So that really means that people can get a much better return.
Right.
So individuals can invest on our platform through a myriad of different ways. So either just direct cash into the platform or through an ISA construct. And for US listeners, ISA is a retail investment product that means you don't pay tax on the gains that you put onto the platform. And in the UK, it's quite a big market.
Right.
About £79 billion gets invested into ISAs in the UK each year. And there's at any one stage about £400 billion of ISAs sitting there, which are people's individual savings accounts.
Right.
Today, about half of that is in stocks and shares and about half of that's in cash. The stuff in cash is earning sub 0.5% interest.
Wow.
So you've got quite a lot of people with these ISAs having the tax-free income, but the income's negligible. So we offer a capability for individuals to invest money through the Landbay platform on something called an innovative finance ISA, which lets you get the returns from Landbay's investment in a tax-free wrapper.
So what would you say was wrong with the old model of lending? I mean, was it that all of these different hands that it had to touch before you finally, for both sides of the spectrum? I mean, what would you say?
So on, if you look at the lending side of things, banks and specialist lenders tended to be financed historically either through the bank's balance sheet and the bank's appetite to lend,
right,
or through the securitization market. So people would raise some money, build securitizations, and then sell the securitizations into the market. What that meant was that when there was a change in appetite within the bank for investment into mortgages or within the securitization markets, the appetite to lend would go up and down, and therefore the prices would fluctuate.
Right.
What Landbay brings to the table is bringing together many more disparate sources of capital. So we're not reliant on a bank's balance sheet directly or a securitization market directly. We're bringing the crowd to this by having individuals put money onto the platform, having SMEs put money onto the platform, having funds put money onto the platform, having pension funds put money onto the platform, having banks put money onto the platform. And that means we can go manage the ups and downs of the credit markets in a much more sensible fashion by being able to offset things. And so that puts us in a really strong position there. And on the investment side, frankly, we talked about that,
right,
the disintermediation and the direct investment,
right,
just offering something very different.
And why specifically buy to let? First of all, can you explain what that means for our U.S. customers or listeners, and kind of go into why you found that niche? Yeah.
Okay. So buy to let is a specialist product within mortgage lending, which is all about lending to landlords to purchase properties to rent out.
Right.
So it's very different to residential mortgages, which you're buying to live in as an individual. There are two reasons we're in this space. One, it's quite a large market. So in the UK, it's about £36 billion a year.
Wow.
of lending. And within that, there's a specialist area. The specialist area of that is growing quite significantly. Recently, the UK made some big changes in terms of stamp tax, which is a tax you pay when you purchase a property, and the treatment of tax around how you can offset or not offset the interest expenses against your profitability in in a buy-to-let property. So those changes have meant that there's been some shifts in the type of borrowers that borrow within buy-to-let. So we're seeing a big shift into people who are borrowing within special purpose vehicles and limited companies. We're seeing more portfolio landlords and the general professionalization of that market. And so right now, about 25% of it's in the specialist space. We're seeing that grow to 50% over the next 5 years or so. And that's the niche that Landbay is really in. So it's a growing niche and it's a really important one. So,
along those same lines, what would you tell a business leader who's listening in or an entrepreneur about finding that niche market for your company?
Well, that niche is really, really important from Landbay because of the credit quality that brings us and the ability to lend in that space. So if you look at our book, we've got a very conservative book, £180 million book. We have had zero credit losses and the average loan to values are quite low at about 69% with an interest coverage ratio of about 170%. So it's a very, very focused book and a very high credit quality book. And what I'd say to people who are listening on terms of why we've gone into a niche is that the importance of a niche is focus is everything, right? It's very easy as an entrepreneur to be kind of continuing to see huge opportunities in everything you look at, and it's really exciting. And I personally was kind of freed from the shackles of working in a big bank for 20 odd years to work in a small innovative company that's fundamentally different and really has a can-do attitude about everything, right? And that's great, but it also, one of the biggest challenges is to keep the whole team really focused on the mission and think every day, how can we do this better? How can we grow volume? How can we maintain our credit track record? And what do we need to do to just be delivering on our mission, which is to be the UK's leading specialist buy-to-let lender? And it's that simple, right?
Wow.
There is plenty of other stuff out there. And long term, we may well expand into different markets. But for now, we need to stick to our knitting, focus, and just be the best at what we can do today. And then you can build on that sort of platform. And so it's all about focus. It's all about don't get distracted by anything else. Know where you're going and focus on that.
So have you always been focused on this one goal? Or have you guys did you venture at all over the last couple of years? Or have you always stuck to specifically buy-to-let being the number one buy-to-let mortgage company in the UK?
We always wanted to be focused on the UK buy-to-let mortgage market, and that's what we've been doing. Obviously, we look at everything adjacent on an ongoing basis to look at opportunity, but the opportunity to just be the best in this market is out there, and that's what we're doing. So,
what challenges were people facing in traditional lending when it came to these buy-to-let mortgages?
So two things really. The availability of funding really affects pricing, and as mentioned earlier, if you've got single sources of funding, that's a problem. So our diversity really is a big difference there. The big thing that really faces a lot of people in traditional lending is the speed and service, right? And so many of our competitors operate in a very different time frame, weeks instead of hours, and we've been able to re-engineer the process from the kind of first principles. So, for example, just seemingly very simple things such as when you originate a mortgage and you've got an online system, ask for all the data that you need day one, so that you don't have an iterative back and forth between the underwriter and the broker that just takes a lot of time and overhead and eats your capacity.
Right.
We've really made it very clear about what data is needed when, at what stage in the life cycle, and having things like electronic signatures and reinforcement loops back on our origination really helps.
How did you know what data you needed specifically? I mean, was it just bringing, like you said, you were formerly in the banks. Was it bringing together a team that knew the ins and outs of what exactly you guys needed? Yeah.
Landbay is a fintech, right? And so we're very focused on our technology.
Right.
But we do realize that having the best technology needs to be complemented by people who understand credit.
Of course.
And credit is fundamental for this business. So we were very lucky to hire a senior guy who used to run mortgages at one of our key competitors, and he's now our head of underwriting. He's successfully grew a mortgage business previously from zero to multiple billions under management and in a company that weathered the financial crisis very well. So we've got great credit expertise. And what we've been able to do is kind of mash that credit expertise with can-do technologists who are building the right technology to capture data and expose that data at the right places going forward. And that's really the differentiator.
What would you say are Landbay's biggest challenges and top barriers to growth? I mean, like, you have all this talent, you have the technology, but there's always going to be some obstacles. What are your guys's?
So London's a fintech hub, and that's brilliant because you've got a lot of talent here, but it also means there's a lot of competition for talent. And so, one of the things we need to continue to do, we've grown the team significantly. We're currently 50 odd people, and we're probably looking to grow that up to 80 through the next year or so. And we've got to get the right people. We need people who've got the depth of experience in mortgages, or the depth of technology experience and the capacity and capability to really work in an energetic fintech company. So the war for talent is huge, and that's why we've done things like sign the Women in Finance Charter and be one of the main drivers on some of that sort of stuff as well, to make it an inclusive workspace so we can reach more talent. So that's a big thing for us.
Right.
But then it's also about growing our origination and lending out more money. Now it's very easy to lend money. The difficult thing is getting it back, and what we've got to do is make sure that we have the right credit quality and the right controls, so that as we continue to grow, and we've got this exponential growth at the moment, we maintain the credit basis that has been the foundation of our business, and have the right data to be on top of all those different elements. And so that's been really important to us as we grow.
Speaking on that exponential growth, why right now? Why do you think you've seen that over the last year? What is it about today, this year, this past year, that you're seeing this growth in this type of, mortgage lending?
So two things really. One is we've spent a lot of time building the right capability to get here, right? So you always have the story about these overnight successes take years. And
listeners, please take note on that. It doesn't always happen overnight. I'm not going to say it never happens overnight, but it doesn't always happen overnight. In fact, rarely does.
Exactly. And so we really believe before we wanted to ramp up significant volumes and significant origination and all the rest of it that we've had today, we had to get the foundations in place. And without that, you can easily scale, but not maintain a business. And so it's really important to think about that from day zero. We've also brought online many more institutional funding streams now, as well as the retail funding streams, that have been able to accelerate things quite significantly, which has been great.
But speaking to the industry, why is this shift important now, do you think? Like, speaking to who your lenders, your borrowers, your investors, why are they doing this right now, and why have you seen that growth right now?
So I think when you look at the investment side of Landbay, across the whole of the UK, we've got a 66 million person population. We've only got about 500,000 people who've invested in peer-to-peer, right?
Wow.
And so when you look at the standard adoption graphs, we're less than 0.5% through the innovator stage, let alone the early adopters or the early majority or anything like that. So we've got a lot of wood to chop to make sure that people understand what's out there and see that as a viable asset class and a mechanism to access underlying asset classes like buy-to-let mortgages as an investment vehicle. So I mentioned earlier about the size of the ISA market. Yeah. It's enormous, but we've got to still do a lot of work to tap that. So it's about diversification. It's about people knowing that they can invest in stocks and shares, in cash, in bonds, and through peer-to-peer into interesting and solid credit capabilities like buy-to-let mortgages. So the marketplace model is really everything on that, and it lets Landbay link together these diverse sources of capital with the borrowers and provides that diversity of funding, but also the opportunity for people.
Right.
And it's getting that message out there that we're doing now, really.
Which American company started with a guy in a garage, was featured on Shark Tank, and now has over 1 million customers? Hint, they're reducing crime in neighborhoods everywhere. Here's Ring Video Doorbell founder Jamie Siminoff with his secret to success.
It's true. In just a few years, we've had huge growth. We've hired hundreds of people, expanded our warehouse, and we're shipping millions of units a year, all while making sure our customers are happy. I've had lots of things to worry about, but I never worry about our finance and accounting because we use NetSuite from Oracle. From the beginning, NetSuite let me see what's going on with my business in real time, from revenues to expenses, customers and orders, even HR. I run my business from a dashboard right on my phone. NetSuite has been my business management system from 10 to a team of over 1,000, and NetSuite will be my choice as we continue to innovate and grow.
Go to netsuite.com/ring to see how Jamie scaled his business. You'll also get our free guide titled Overcoming Your 5 Obstacles to Growth. That's netsuite.com/ring for your free guide and the story of a great American company. netsuite.com/ring.
Do you think that social media has had an influence on this growth? Because if you think about it, like we're constantly in peer-to-peer mode. We're reaching out on direct message to ask somebody to market our product, or we're reaching out on Venmo to trade money back and forth. Do you think that has a big, part in this?
Certainly, yeah. I think people are realizing that these technology platforms like marketplace lending and peer-to-peer are a real viable alternative to more traditional investment capabilities. Now, there's a lot to do to continue to show great credit quality and performance, and we firmly believe in transparency. For example, you can download our whole loan book and see all our loans off our site, and we publish all the statistics about our concentrations and risk parameters so that you can make informed decisions. And having that sort of transparency is what people are expecting these days when they're making investment decisions. And so I do see that with people using things like TransferWise, people all these different things are really kind of pushing people to be more aware of what technology can bring to them and the benefits that can happen, and building the trust in that. But
in bringing forth this type of, I hate to use this word, but disruptive idea, have you guys faced backlash from banks, from these big traditional mortgage lenders? Have you seen some backlash there? Yeah,
within peer-to-peer lending, there's there is sometimes a view that you're taking the stuff that banks don't want, right? And we're not a lender that lends on banks' cast-off. We're competing directly with
banks,
all the different competitors in that space on a level playing field. We just happen to have a marketplace model for funding that does all the stuff that any normal funding opportunity would do, but more, because we have a much wider capability.
Right.
Now, we're still a very small organization, and so we don't have huge PR budgets to push the message all day every day. But we think that we can win through competitive pricing and excellent service.
So what you're telling me is it's not like somebody can walk in with a very, very low credit score and say I want a loan. That's not what you guys aren't taking the castaways.
Absolutely not. No, we're directly competing and we're UK prime buy-to-let mortgages, so it's all high credit quality.
Got it. Is there room for people that maybe have a lower credit that think their only way that they can get a mortgage? I mean, you guys are buy-to-let, so it might be a smaller percentage of that, but is there room for people that are like, my credit score is this because of this, and peer-to-peer, lending is the only way that I can do this?
I don't think so. I think that there are plenty of institutions who are interested in going down the credit curve for a higher rate of return and the commensurate risk, but it's not the business we're in.
Got it. Again, keeping that focus.
Exactly.
The niche focus.
Exactly.
So you actually walked into the company as COO a year after its founding. What did you walk into back then?
Okay, so I joined Landbay in March 2015. Very, very different role to many of my previous roles. I'd spent 20 years working in JP Morgan and Macquarie Group in quite senior roles, doing running technology organizations or business groups, and came from having hundreds and hundreds of people in my team to a room in Victoria with 9 people in. So it was totally different, right? But it was a one-room office, but it was full of smart people, and they had a huge vision, right? And so it's really invigorating to see what was out there. So, we had a big challenge ahead of us, and we'd started to get some traction in terms of lending our first loan and getting some retail investment on the platform. But we also knew to make that work, we had to really significantly scale. We'd make tiny margins on our platform. It's all about volume, and it's all about bringing these two sides of the marketplace together.
I have to know what it's like going from that corporate level of business into a startup. I mean, what is that? What goes through your head? Why do you say, this is where I'm meant to be right now?
And I'd spent a lot of my career beforehand, wanting to get to managing director when I was at JP Morgan, or having a bigger and bigger team. And I'd done that. And you kind of tick the box and you kind of go, right, okay, what's next? And you think, right, do you want another 20 years working in a bank? And actually, I didn't,
Wow.
And this is fun, it's exciting, and you can really shape it. And I'm very lucky to work with a bunch of really smart people who are motivated to get this done and all aligned to the vision of growing this business. So it's very different, and I think there's a perception in the industry that a lot of kind of senior leaders would find it difficult. I don't think they would. I think they'd find it invigorating. And I think more and more people can do it.
Yeah. Interesting. So, okay, obviously it's not all fun and games though.
No.
Especially in startup world. And especially when you're doing something like, again, this word disruptive as Landbay. What challenges did you face on the operations side of things when you walked in?
There are a whole bunch, right? Yeah. So, 5 main things probably come to mind. In terms of funding scale, we'd got some retail funds on the platform, and we'd got fully FCA authorized, and that was a big journey to do that. But we needed to launch our innovative finance ISA, and we needed to get some institutional players onto the platform as well to really ramp it up. So quite early on, we were able to originate around £30 million worth of loans and put them into a securitization and be the first peer-to-peer lender to get a AAA rated, which is a credit quality securitization. And that's really helped kind of set a benchmark for us to be able to get more institutional funds on the platform, etc. So funding scale was a big thing. Mortgage lending, we needed to continue to originate, but to do that, we needed to, the UK buy-to-let market is about 97% broker driven, right? So we needed to have a great system to work with our brokers and build our underwriting team out. Technology is massive as well.
Of course.
There's a lot of work we need to do on underwriting, but the technology can really remove overheads and make sure you got the right data at the right time in the right place, pushing things across. And governance. So often you see small companies grow and then suddenly have an overhead of, we need to do the governance thing. Right? One of the things we really wanted to do within Landbay was put it in place day one, so that as we grew, it's just how we do business. And so now when we're at a larger scale, it's not an overhead. It's not something we say, oh my God, we've got to go and start putting more governance in place with everything. It's already there. It's just how we do it. And that's really kind of paid dividends. And then, growing the team, we've grown from, the 8-9 people we had then to 50, over 50 people now, and we're continuing to grow, and there's a lot to do there, and make sure we're attracting the right people.
So that's a lot of different branches in which you need to have systems in place to make sure that all of those are running like a well-oiled machine. What systems were you on when you came on? I mean, what various systems were you guys using to, track your data, track your financials, and everything else you needed to do? So
the kind of technology philosophy we've always had at Landbay is, we build our own core platforms. So we built our peer-to-peer engine, and we're building on the origination platform. But all the pieces around the edge, we needed to select quality vendors. So we've always been fully cloud-based, and so everything we've done within our internal architecture is a Java microservices environment. It's horizontally scalable. It's all in AWS. It's in fact, we're a case study on AWS if you search for Landbay.
Wow.
We had vendor partners across the board. We'd started off with a different accounting platform. It's done a great job to now, but frankly, we're just getting to scale where we're over the limits of that platform, and we need to select someone else. So, when we looked at accounting platforms, we'd looked at a number of different things out there, and the selection was really about cloud-based. And is it something which can continue to be updated, and we'll be able to get the latest features on a rolling basis going forward as well.
So what systems were you looking into?
We really deep dived on NetSuite straight away.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because we knew the market. We'd known where we're going to be going in the longer term, and we thought it was the right thing for us. And that was because the kind of things that we thought were really important were the functionality, the core capabilities, and everything being in the cloud. But obviously the price as well. We knew it was an efficient solution for an enterprise of our size, and many of the kind of non-cloud-based platforms are quite a financial commitment day zero.
Right.
And the cohort, right? A lot of companies successfully use NetSuite. Some of our, we're a member of something called the Peer-to-Peer Finance Association, which is the kind of top peer-to-peer lenders, and a number of those are on NetSuite. So Funding Circle, who IPO'd recently, are there, and we spoke to them about their experiences as well. And so it was a kind of decision based on what we knew in the market.
Right, exactly. And how did NetSuite's native localization and customer support being right here in the UK help with this decision? Obviously, it's an American-based company, but now we are truly local across the globe. How did that influence you guys at all?
Often the payoff you get from selecting a cloud-based system is you kind of just get the subscription out of the box. This is it.
Yeah.
There you go. And if that wasn't going to work for us, we needed a degree of customization. So we have followed the kind of whole NetSuite suite success journey through this, and we had a localized platform base configuration that we worked on top of, and then we worked through that base configuration with some customization to meet our individual requirements through a bunch of workshops, and that's been really good to actually be either doing workshops virtually on conference calls with people, or actually within the rooms and going through this stuff meant that we were able to get what we needed on the platform.
And because that's what I was going to ask next was how you talked about you've outgrown your old system. And that is why you started looking for a new system in the first place. What is it that NetSuite offers that makes you believe like, okay, they're going to grow with us as we grow?
So I think a couple of things. One is there's a clear commitment to data in NetSuite. But two is that it's getting continued investment, right? By the NetSuite Oracle acquisition, it means that you've got the cash flow behind you to make sure that you are going to invest in what your customers actually need. Right. And that is something that was very, very important to us.
Where do you see your capabilities growing, and where do you see the efficiencies happening that you can focus on other areas of Landbay?
So our mission is to become the UK's leading specialist mortgage lender over the next 4 years. And we've got a lot of wood to chop to get there, but we've got significant volume to grow. And with that volume, we need to have the controls and we need to have the data. So what NetSuite brings to the table is the ability for us to capture all of that data, be confident about where it is, and then distribute and use that in the right places within the organization. And that's the fundamentals.
So for another company, that's based in the UK, that's starting off currently, what would you tell them when they're talking about looking into financial systems or looking to a CRM system? Would you recommend NetSuite, or what would you say to them?
I'd say you need to get your core data architecture right for your business. First of all, understand what sort of data you want, and then work with your partner such as NetSuite to be able to complement that effectively. If you go in thinking the tool's the answer, you got it wrong.
Right, of course.
You need to have the right strategy to be able to shape the tool to get the value that you need.
Love that answer.
And you need to make that happen.
Love that answer. Obviously, you guys are striving to be the number one buy-to-let mortgage lender in the UK. Is there anything else we can look forward to from Landbay in the near future?
It's all about focus. We're focused on being the leading specialist mortgage lender in the UK. After that, we can talk.
The sky's the limit. A very focused sky, that is. Thank you so much for being on with us today. And I'm so glad we got to talk to you, and I look forward to all of the growth that you guys have in front of you.
Super. Thanks.
Great advice there that I need to repeat. Make sure you get your core data architecture right for your business. Understand what sort of data you want and put that into strategy. And don't forget, NetSuite is here to help you do that. Thank you so much to Julian Cork from Landbay for joining us on this episode of the NetSuite Podcast. We also want to thank our editors over at Lampstand and all you listeners for tuning in. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe. Catch you next time.
You just listened to the NetSuite Podcast. Be sure to tune in every week with more NetSuite developments, stories, and insights into the benefits of one integrated system to help you run your business.